Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Sunday Stream. The stream I do on Sundays because Sunday is the day to stream on Sundays. Hope everyone's doing well. Hope you've all had a good week so far, a good weekend, and a good week upcoming. It's been a exciting weekend for me. I got to spend time with Sister Scribe doing some chores and such, and here I am on a Sunday morning competing with the network morning shows. That's what I think of this show as, my own version of the network Sunday morning shows, which nobody watches. But you watch, don't you? And who are you? Why, you would be Chicago Mike, hello, Matt Barnes, Funtime Bats, Zalbla, Swirl Blue, No Name, Elliot Fox, Keeverdam, Mike Savage, Toku 154. Who else? The gayest person on YouTube, Arc 210, Johnny Hellcat. Hello, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. So what do I have on deck for today? Well, after last week's relative debacle of an absolute nothing burger, I thought I would do something that seemed a little lighter. You know, seemed a little bit more on point, a little bit more directed, something that really couldn't miss as far as the subject matter promised and what would be contained therein. At least I hope so. Because today we have a kid's book about diversity, read by the author, apparently. I just came across this. This was posted in the last few days or so. Now, I have looked at one instance in the past of a book written specifically for kids involving diversity and social justice and such things. I honestly forget the name of the book at that time, but it was one that I posted relatively recently back to my channel. It had been exclusively on BitChute at some point, but then I brought it back to my channel, and I can't remember why I took it off in the first place. Either way, it had three authors, three ladies on a Talks at Google event, and they were talking about their book. And so teaching kids is really how you get anything done in a society. All right, you teach the generation that is to oncome to the rest of the society and take over eventually, and that's how, you know, presumably you start indoctrinating children, unfortunately. And that is one of the fears that I've had and have witnessed over the course of doing these videos and looking at different schools and different teachers and educators and about what they do, how they do it, and what their intentions are in doing so, in bringing children into the ideas of social justice and racial affinity groups and critical theory and on and on and on. And so I was curious, is this book a part of that, or is it perhaps something that tries to counter that? Because there are individuals and groups out there who are trying to sort of go along to get along and not becoming outright, I don't know what you want to say, adversarial to the idea, but just say, okay, this is how things are going. How can we start to move the needle the other direction? Or is this just dyed-in-the-wool, regular old indoctrination? I don't know, but we'll find out together as children. So, no bingo card on this one. Just going to have a nice little read and see what our author here deems appropriate to teach children about diversity. I'll start off with a few seconds for sound test. You guys tell me if you can hear it, and then I will proceed.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone. You guys hear that all right? Yeah, so when I found this, this was marked on YouTube as part of YouTube Kids. It falls into that category. Even though no children appear in this, the content is apparently deemed appropriate for children. Okay, so I guess we'll find out together. I mean, I'm sure it's not going to be quote unquote offensive per se, but I'm curious all the same. Sounds fine, says Mike R. Sounds good, says Swirl Blue. Yeah, I made sure, again, as compared to last week's broadcast, I made sure that the sound quality on this was at least boosted significantly more than the original, just to avoid any quietness like last time. Okay, hello, everyone.
My name is Sharnae Gordon, and I am the author of a kid's book about diversity.
Okay, and before we go any further, I have never published a book, so kudos to her for having a book to publish. Maybe someday I will, but that is a credit I do not possess, so Congratulations to her on that.
I want to read it to you today, so I hope that you enjoy it.
Okay, I'm ready. Oh boy.
A Kid's Book About Diversity by Sharnae Gordon.
Yes.
Have you ever taken a look at the superheroes you watch in the movies?
Well, there's really no way not to if I'm watching the movies.
Or the characters in your favorite book?
Well, I mean, if my favorite book has pictures in it, I suppose, or are represented on the cover somehow. Otherwise, it's kind of theater of the mind. Wait, this is for kids, right?
Or in the cartoons you watch?
Again, it's unavoidable not to look at. Okay, I'm coming at this like an adult.
How many of them look like you?
Uh-huh.
Have families like yours?
Uh-huh.
Dress like you?
Uh-huh.
Have the same skin color as you?
Uh-huh. Well, let's see. Batman, his family's dead. Dressed like me, well, he's a billionaire and a Caped Crusader. Skin color like me? Well, I guess it depends on the artist.
Think about this before you turn the page.
Think about this before I turn the page. Think about whether they look like me, dress like me, have families like me, have my similar skin color. Okay. So think about all of these arbitrary factors of someone before I continue. Got it.
Are you thinking?
Yes.
Now let me introduce myself.
Okay. Is this an autobiography?
My name is Sharnae, and today I want to talk to you about diversity.
This book reads like a lecture.
What's that?
Yeah, it's kind of, I mean, I don't know what age range she's aiming for with this kid's book, but I'm assuming kindergarten-ish. So, yes, explain the big word of diversity to children.
You may be wondering.
Yes.
And what does it have to do with superheroes?
That is also a very good question.
Those are excellent questions.
Yes, they are.
Let me explain, and I promise
Okay.
it'll all make sense in the end.
Okay. All right. So I've got to put my mind, harken back to when I was a kindergartner, listening to my teacher read us a book. Okay. Explain what you're talking about. Keep me interested. Is there a funny dinosaur trying to buy a Mother's Day gift for his mommy dinosaur?
Okay.
Okay.
Diversity means different.
Yes. In a kindergarten level definition, sure.
People are the same in some ways,
Yes.
but different in others.
Yes.
For example,
Mm-hmm.
we all have different hair types, eye color, and skin tones.
Well, sure. Okay.
Some people wear glasses
Yeah.
or contact lenses,
Yeah.
but others don't.
Yes.
There are people who are really tall,
Mm-hmm.
and there are people who are really short,
Mm-hmm.
like myself.
Okay.
I'm 5 feet 2 inches, by the way.
Okay.
Diversity is everything that makes you you.
Are we going to get to diversity of thought?
Those can be things like age, race, gender, religion, ethnicity, sexuality, ability.
Sexuality? Okay, and again, this is a book for children. Yes? Okay. If you need to take time to explain the word diversity to children in a simple way, are you just going to let all those other words hanging, I'm assuming?
Disability,
Uh-huh.
socioeconomic status.
You are speaking alien to small children if you're talking about socioeconomic status, setting aside the appropriateness or not of bringing up sexuality with small children. Socioeconomic status? Really?
Political views or beliefs, and so much more.
Yes, I guess. Are you sure you're writing this for children and not as a coffee table book for enlightened adults?
By the way, socioeconomic status means where you stand in society.
That is simplifying it a bit, yes.
Most of the time, this is determined by how much schooling you have, how much money you make, what your job is, and other things like that.
Sure. Okay. Real quick, thank you, Johnny Hellcat, softballing all those words, then bam! Yep. Tell me, I'm just curious, because I am not a childhood educator or trained in such. Would this actually keep the attention of a, and again, I'm just guessing, because you didn't say, what age range this book is built for, but the way she's reading it and the way that she's presenting it, I'm assuming somewhere in the neighborhood of kindergarten to first grade, something like that. Would this actually hold a child's attention? If there's not some narrative to it, if there's not a character to enlighten upon, she's not showing the pages, so there's not, I'm assuming, any interesting pictures to look at, like, again, a colorful caterpillar or a funny dinosaur or a big bunny or something. Okay.
Guess what?
Chicken butt.
Being different is what makes us special. When you include and embrace all people from different backgrounds and perspectives, you embrace diversity.
I suppose that is true. That is true. Thank you, Matt Barnes. This lady is pitching way over kids' heads. That's my first thought. I mean, setting everything else aside about the content or anything else, or the subject matter, I should say, this does not sound like a book that would be aimed towards actual children, nor would actually keep a child's attention. You see, this is why, like, fairy tales have a narrative and have characters and have, sort of scenarios. They teach lessons through narrative, right? A Little Red Riding Hood, don't talk to strangers. It doesn't explicitly say in the classic tale, don't talk to strangers, but it just sort of warns children about the dangers of speaking to someone they do not know and do not recognize. All right, it teaches a lesson. That's what a lot of, children's stories and things do. They teach lessons about friendship and caution and self-care, that kind of stuff, through narrative. This is not a narrative. This is a lecture purportedly for children. So I'm not sure that it would actually do the thing that the author intends, if you catch my meaning.
And celebrate those differences that make us special.
All right. Celebrate is one thing. Set a value upon is another thing. And now, while our author hasn't said it yet, and I'm not going to say that she will, unfortunately, that is what so many other educators are doing right now. They're setting a value upon certain differences over other differences, which might make you think of a time in America's past where that was a bad thing. And it's always a bad thing. But it's being prepackaged, or I should say repackaged, as a good thing. So I'm wondering if we're going to go there.
Now, About those characters and superheroes that you thought about before,
If my attention span lasted that long, sure.
chances are most of them are white.
Okay, well, I wasn't sure. Now I am.
Able-bodied cisgender boys.
Are you going to define cisgender to kindergarten to first grade kids?
By the way, cisgender means when a person's gender identity matches the one they were assigned at birth.
Yes, I am certain that even those concepts will be immediately understood by small children. And even though she's not showing off the pages, you can kind of see as she's turning them, it's just text on paper. Now, do you imagine that a child, and again, I'm guessing, I do not know, I am guessing it's somewhere in the age range of kindergarten through first grade. Do you imagine a child is going to sit down independently with this book and read it? If not, can you imagine a book with just text on paper holding a child's attention if a teacher were to show it off to them? Who exactly is this book for?
There's nothing wrong with being white.
Then why bring it up? If the lesson is to accept people of all differences and all backgrounds and so on and so forth, why highlight a specific one? And why do you feel the need to say that, oh, there's nothing wrong with it? Is there a but coming?
Or able-bodied or cisgendered or a boy.
But I'll give it a second. Thank you, Matt Barnes. Oh no, the Punisher isn't wheelchair bound. I know, right? Yeah, I don't know. There was speaking of that, and something it's one of those things that, I only think about now that people have made a big deal about it. But way back in the 90s, when it was the New Warriors in the Marvel Comics, there's a super team called the New Warriors. One of the superheroes in there was named Silhouette, and she was a girl who could like blend into shadows and do shadow stuff and things like that. But I forget exactly what her disability was, but she had like arm brace cane things that got her around. So she wasn't entirely immobile or anything, but she obviously had a disability. But then her cane braces, whatever, were also weapons. So I remember that character, and I didn't think anything of that character in the sense of, oh, because she has a disability that makes her super special or something. She was just another character amongst the team because they treated her like an equal, and it was never really made up too much of a big deal. And I never thought of it as a kid as being anything other than, oh, there's another superhero. And yet today that would be like some huge thing. We've talked about this on Lords of the Night several times. What is the place we're trying to get to in society when it comes to assessing people with disabilities or knowing someone is gay or something? We're trying to get to a point where it doesn't matter. It's like, that person is or has so what? As relevant to assessing someone as their eye color, their hair color. It's just whatever. Instead of highlighting everything or making it seem like some glorious event or whatever, shouldn't we just be saying, who is that person and not what is that person, if you catch my meaning? Thank you again, Matt Barnes. Cardiac. Remember him, Spider-Man? He was disabled, if I recall. Yeah, he had a heart problem or whatever. Yeah, there's Cardiac. I've got the first issue of Cardiac showing up actually in my Spider-Man collection. And there's Silhouette, and obviously Daredevil was blind. So it's not really a new idea. And it's made it into kind of I don't know. It seems like a non-issue to me as far as superhero characters go, but I'm getting too deep in the weeds. So it's not a bad thing if you're white, cisgendered, able-bodied, But
Everyone has their own diversity and perspective.
then why highlight those specific elements?
That they bring into the mix.
But
But think about how exciting it is when you see a superhero that looks like you.
What if you're talking to a bunch of white kids? Who is this book for? What message are you trying to get across?
Don't you think everyone should have that? I do.
Obviously so. And I don't disagree. And here's the thing. Do you read comic books? Do you actually know much about superheroes? I mean, go back to the New Warriors. You want quote unquote diversity. Okay.
We live in such a big, beautiful, and diverse world.
Yes.
It's full of different people,
yes.
perspectives,
yes.
experiences,
yes.
stories, ideas, colors, music, memories, dance moves, traditions, food, religions, holidays, and the list goes on and on.
Yes. And again, though I have not been a kindergartner to first grader in a long time, that would not catch my attention. Where is the funny cat who has to tie his shoes for the first time? Something? Okay. So if everything is good and difference is great, why did you spend a whole 2 or 3 pages or whatever underscoring a specific, I don't know, attribute set as something to look as negative or boring or something that should be avoided?
When you leave people out who are different from you, you're missing out on all those wonderful things they can share with you.
Well, you just put a dividing line between the children you apparently think you're talking to and the attribute set you said should be somehow set aside. So, who is your audience and what message are you trying to get across?
That's why diversity is important. One of the reasons, anyway.
Uh-huh.
When you embrace diversity, kids of color can see themselves reflected in the world around them.
So, okay. Kids of color. Right. Okay. So this is the lesson you're trying to put across to who again? And kids of color are unable to appreciate the world around them unless somebody does something for them because of the way that they look.
We get to see others being included and being the hero of the story.
Uh-huh.
It helps smash negative perspectives, which leads to more acceptance and everyone being nicer to one another.
If what you were saying were actually true, then perhaps so. But again, here's the thing. Are you promoting the idea of making difference irrelevant in assessing someone, or are you putting a value on certain attributes as either positive or negative when assessing someone? That's what it comes down to. I'm not sure that's what you're doing.
And you learn so much about people and the world around you. Their lives and experiences matter.
No, they don't. You just told us that they don't. You whittled down certain superheroes to their race, their gender, and their ability status. None of those things say anything about that person's character or experience or perspectives. So your primary example so far is not succeeding in getting across the sentiments you are now saying you mean to get across.
And so do yours.
Uh-huh.
Being open to diversity teaches you respect and how to appreciate other people's differences.
Again, I don't know what you mean by appreciate. Appraise. What do you want me to appraise of someone's differences? Which differences should be appraised in one way or the other? I know I'm asking big questions here, but then I'm fairly certain that the audience for this book is not actually small children either. So
You learn that there is no right or wrong way to be, which gives you the freedom to be yourself.
unless you happen to be white, male, and able-bodied, because then that's something that should be avoided or questioned or something.
When you realize that, you begin to feel seen, understood, and less alone.
Just wait till they hit their teenage years. Everybody goes through a phase.
Seeing yourself reflected in the world around you helps you embrace who you are.
Does it though? I mean, if I see myself in the world around me, am I being exposed to difference or conformity?
You know, when I was a kid,
Uh-huh.
there weren't a lot of people that looked like me in cartoons, books, or movies.
I will stipulate.
This made me feel like my life was less important than others.
Well, that sounds like a you problem.
Then one day,
Uh-huh.
I turned on the TV.
Yeah.
And I finally saw someone who looked like me,
Ah.
who wasn't an athlete,
Yeah.
rapper, or singer.
Really? So prior to that, there were no singers, rappers, or athletes, as though any of those things are inherently negative? Athlete? Singer? Really? Okay. So you did see people that looked like you prior to this moment. They just happen to have vocations that you think are what? Not worthy?
It was Oprah!
Uh-huh.
She instantly became my role model.
Do you think kids today are going to have any appreciation for who Oprah was or is? You know how, I mean, relatively ancient a concept Oprah will be to children today versus anybody who's 20 or older at this point? Okay.
I wanted to be just like her.
Who's Oprah?
She made me feel seen, understood, and less alone.
No, you see, you did that. She didn't do that. You did that. All on your own. There were no mind waves coming through the television changing how you feel about yourself. You did that. Take some credit for that. Or not, I guess.
Seeing someone I related to so widely respected helped me realize that I was important.
No. You are taking someone else's success and deciding that somehow that elevates you, even though you have absolutely nothing to do with Oprah, have no connection to her whatsoever, and on and on and on. Okay, again, this is a self-esteem issue. And sure, if you're inspired by Oprah, great, that's fine. But you are doing that. But outside of that, it's got nothing to do with you.
That made me more confident in myself.
Okay.
And I began to embrace diversity.
So wait, you didn't You needed to see someone who looked like you before you decided to embrace diversity. Okay.
Today, things look a lot different.
Yes.
There is more diversity in books, TV, movies, and the people who are in charge.
Did she ever define diversity? And what did she dwell on again? Yeah. So, yes, I guess there is more diversity. So again, what are you valuing as being the most important factors in what qualifies as diverse?
But we still have a long way to go.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. Because perfection is a ever elusive destination. And what is perfection? What would our author like to see? Thank you again, Matt Barnes. I think Oprah is the nail in the coffin for this actually being a children's book. This is written to give to different thinkers because they're dumb. Like so many other books like this that I've seen so far, and there have been a few, like Anti-Racist Baby, and what was that one that those three ladies did together? I forget the name of it. It had some goofy name. Anyway, they feel more like books someone who is trying to show off to their friends about how enlightened they are, or how enlightened that they want to be seen as being parents towards their children, put on their coffee table to show off. I'm not quite sure who this book is written for, but I'm pretty sure it's something like that.
Can you think of a character in a TV show who uses a wheelchair?
Character in a TV show that uses a wheelchair. Ironside. Or, yeah, the old Raymond Burr TV show. Right? Or how about, who am I thinking of? What's her name? Oracle. Barbara Gordon. She showed up as Oracle in one of the cartoon shows, didn't she? Yeah. Who else? Verger. What was that? What was his first name? The guy that tried to hunt down Hannibal Lecter. Yeah, he was in a wheelchair. So yeah, I mean, I can think of them. It takes me a second because I'll admit they're not all that common in most TV shows, but I can think of a few.
Can you think of a leader who is indigenous?
A leader who is indigenous. Are you going to explain to the kindergarten through first graders what indigenous means? Thank you, Johnny Hellcat. She defined diversity as different. That's about it. Yeah, except she is alighting upon very specific differences in how she's assessing people. A leader who is indigenous. That's very specific and very sort of geographical, depending on what you're talking about.
Can you think of a scientist who isn't a boy?
A scientist who isn't a boy. I don't know. I've watched some CSI episodes where, yeah, sure. How about Homicide: Life on the Street, Dr. Cox, back in the 90s? I mean, she was a medical examiner. She was a scientist in that regard. So, yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. And?
Did you think of anyone?
Yeah. Oh, I just watched last night. Just on a lark, I started watching that other Sherlock Holmes show, Elementary, where not John Watson, but Joan Watson, played by Lucy Liu, who is a former surgeon. She's a scientist. How about Scully on X-Files? She was the scientist where Mulder was just the rampaging skeptic. Yeah, I mean, I've grown up with a lot of female, or ER. You ever watch ER back in the 90s? I don't know. I mean, my mind is full of possible examples. Might take me a second because I haven't thought about that specific thing. You know why I don't think about that specific thing? Because I don't assess people that way. It doesn't become significant to me. They're a character that does a thing. And if they're written well, then they're a good character. Assessing them on their profession or something. Like,
How long did it take you?
A minute or two, you know. I don't think about characters in that way. Like, does their profession match their gender? Like, what the hell is that supposed to mean?
Did you have to look it up?
No. And look, if you're talking to children in a classroom, how are they going to look it up? You're reading this like it's a book for kids in an elementary school or something. And do kids think like that? Do they categorize people in that way at that age? I mean, are they watching shows with characters who are scientists? Are they watching Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and Bubble Guppies, for God's sakes? I mean, seriously.
Now, take a step back and take a good look at the diversity in your life.
Take a step back. I think you're anticipating a certain level of self-reflection that small children just do not yet possess. Because this book is not written for children, is it?
Do you see it in your neighborhood? How about your school?
Do I see it? Do I see it? How do I see someone's experience? How do I see someone's perspective? What exactly are you instructing these children to value one to another? It's a rhetorical question, but all the same.
Your friend circle? Your community?
Should I be assessing myself as compared to the look of the people that are around me? What should I be doing with this information as a small child? Do tell.
We can do better.
Do better than what? What is the problem that you're attempting to solve?
We have to do better.
What? Okay, what call to action are you placing upon small children? So
now you may be wondering how you can have more diversity in your life.
No, I'm probably wondering, when is it nap time, or can I get a cookie?
There are a lot of things that you can do.
Oh, okay. Tell me what a kindergarten to first grader can do to help with diversity.
First,
yes,
embrace who you are.
I'm a... You know, just acting as though I am in the role of a first to second or kindergarten or something here. How the hell do I know who I am if I haven't even gotten to double digits in my age yet? And even then, there are people older than me now who still don't know who they are. But certainly, in the early grades, you're not going to have that kind of self-understanding or self-awareness. This is for children, right? Kids' book? Yeah.
Don't be afraid of being different.
But what if my different is white, male, able-bodied, which you highlighted as somehow being, what then?
Treat others the way you want to be treated.
Okay.
That's called equality.
Well, no, that's called egalitarianism, sort of. Well, not even that. It's just the golden rule. No, that's not equality. I mean, maybe personal equality, sure. But would you treat Charles Manson the same way as you would treat yourself? I mean, that's one of the sort of the flaws about the golden rule. There are obviously other people in the world that you would not treat the same way as you would treat yourself. But I'm getting far too deeply philosophical here, which is my bad, because obviously we're talking about a kid's book.
Look for books with characters who are different from you.
Okay. So you want me to value things in people on the basis of appearance. Okay.
If you don't see yourself in your books, You can write your own story.
You told me to look for books that have people in them that are different from me. So if I'm supposed to ignore myself when looking for other media... Okay.
Talk to kids who practice different religions.
Why?
What traditions do they have?
You're really instructing small children to start having theological discussions with other children. Okay.
If there's a kid in your class who everyone sees as different, go talk to them. Be open to playing games that you've never heard of before.
Okay, as a basic rule of friendliness and socialization, not going to argue with that one in its sentiment, more or less.
They might be fun.
Yeah.
Try food that you've never tasted before and try to find the place where it's from on a map.
That's, again, taking it out of the context of the overall arc here, that is a perfectly legitimate thing to do. You could learn geography and all types of stuff that way. That's fine.
Learn other ways to communicate with people. Maybe learn a new language, like Spanish or sign language.
Sure. Again, perfectly fine. Nothing wrong with that.
Talk to a grown-up about the different types of diversity.
The different types of diversity. Are you going to give us a list?
Ask questions and discover what makes each one of them so special.
Wait, you define diversity as just difference. I mean, a very basic definition at the start of the book. The different kinds of diversity? What do you mean? What? Ask an adult about the different kinds of diversity?
You might learn together.
What?
Be curious.
Yeah.
Ask questions and listen.
Yeah, sure. Okay. That's fine. Are we done yet?
Diversity is normal.
Yes, it is. So why highlight certain differences as something to be avoided?
Diversity is like a kaleidoscope.
Uh-huh.
Filled with lots of different colors,
yes,
shapes,
yes,
and textures.
Yes.
If we're all willing to peek inside, we'll open the door to a beautiful world filled with more kindness, empathy, love, and respect.
Unless you happen to be a white, male, able-bodied superhero, I guess.
So instead of resisting diversity,
where in here did you ever talk about someone resisting diversity? Diversity is a force? That doesn't sound very friendly or kid-ish.
Embrace it. Let's smash hate, prejudice, racism, and discrimination.
All very large terms for small children. Also, if this is the case, why did you single out a specific race, a specific gender, and a specific, I don't know, bodily mobility as something to be wary of?
And celebrate what makes each person unique. Thanks so much for listening. A kid's book about diversity. Bye.
That was not a book for kids, first and foremost, if I hadn't got that across previously. That was not written for small children to be read in a classroom. Again, let me just back up a little bit. Anybody who has the the drive, the wherewithal, and the ability to create, publish a book, even if it's not a book that I would read, I got to give certain credit towards. That's fine. But nothing about that book said this is a kid's book to me. It was long. I mean, again, remember, attention spans of children, right? I mean, I haven't been a child in a long time, but I know what the attention span of a child is like. You ever been on Twitter before? So no pictures, no characters, no narrative, no lessons, just words, 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 words. Big words that kids won't understand, concepts that they have no idea about, and a call to self-reflection that I doubt most small children would have any idea of what to do with. And all towards celebrating diversity while underlining certain elements as boring or undesirable, valuing things on appearance, valuing people on appearance, questioning your own self-worth on the basis of who you associate with based on what they look like, and on and on. I mean, some of these ideas were only barely touched upon here, but you got the drift, at least in my opinion. So there you go. A kid's book about diversity. I don't have much else to say about it myself, but if you guys have anything you'd like to add, this will be a relatively short stream today because the video itself was relatively short. So if you have anything you'd like to add, put in the chat now. Be sure to tag me in your comments so I can see that it's directed towards me for this, as it might be. While I wait for anything you'd like to say, a couple of programming notes. First and foremost, I will be hosting Lords of the Night tomorrow night, Monday night. Satsu and I are switching off. Tomorrow night will be my last night hosting Lords of the Night. And then Tuesday, we'll be on Satsu's channel for his last night hosting and effectively the last episode of Lords of the Night, which will also be a quasi-celebration for Squeedus's, or I should say, I got to get past that myself. I keep calling her Squeedus. It's Aaliyah. Satsu's daughter Aaliyah it'll be her second birthday on Tuesday. So if you'd like to join us for that, we'd love to have you on there. We'll be starting, I think, about an hour earlier. We might go for 3 hours. And the guests we have lined up for Tuesday will hopefully be the old crew, myself, Satsu, Ranting Monkey, and Some Dumb American, to hang out and talk about stuff and reminisce. Tomorrow night, Monday night, when I host, I've got a couple of things planned. I've got a long slideshow of the thumbnails I've created for the show over the last couple of years. I'll be reading some of the old custom ads I wrote in the early days of the show just for fun. Hopefully have on as a guest tailed feature, and we'll just hang out and hopefully have some fun with you guys as well. So let's see. Brigid, Scribe Light, write a kid's book about Dogcat Fox. But if you don't focus on race, kids won't be racist. Yeah, Dogcat Fox. Dogcat Fox who lives on the moon. I mean, it is kind of built for a kid's book kind of thing, right? This is Dogcat Fox. Dogcat Fox lives on the moon. Dogcat Fox eats goldfish crackers. Dogcat Fox chases away the Moonians. Yeah, and one sentence per page. I kind of remember that being most children's books. Like if you're holding a book up before a classroom of children, each page has 1 to maybe 3 sentences and a big picture to look at. A big bright picture, a drawing, a photograph, something. Like Make Way for Ducklings. You ever guys see that book? Very old book, very classic book. Or Polar Express. Some of those, not the movie, weird movie with, the Tom Hanks and everything, but the actual, book. It was mostly just pictures in like 1 sentence or something that just had a lot of mystery to it. Yeah. But yeah, 1 sentence per page, thereabouts. Big picture of Dogcat Fox eating a goldfish cracker. Yeah, I can see that. Let's see. And Renovescio says, God can't believe she's already 2. I know, time flies, doesn't it? It really does. I was like, really? She's already 2? It's been 2 some odd years since the big, I don't know how else to say, the birthing night telethon we had on Satsu's channel. That was something else. Let's see. Lexi Mads, kids are kids. They play together. They like each other. They don't like each other. Noticing shallow differences means nothing. They all want to be dinosaurs and rocket ships anyway. Yeah, you know, and depending on the parents, some kids are going to act different ways towards other kids than others. And that's just life, I guess, you know. And I over the last several years, with all this stuff becoming so hyper important lately, I've thought back to my childhood and I tried to think, was I ever, put into a situation or told or taught that I should value something in someone over someone else? Whatever the case. Should I look at a kid who is black differently than a kid who is white or tall or short or No. I honestly do not recall anybody ever telling me in a book or a TV show or anything else, or having a thought that I should be treating people differently. I really don't. Now, did I treat kids differently based on how they behaved towards me or others? Sure. If someone was a jerk, I stayed away from them, or I didn't like them, because that's just an instinctual thing. If someone was shy, was I mean to them? No, thankfully, I wasn't one of the bullies. I was one of the ones that got bullied. So I think I, sort of built up some sympathy for people who are the underdogs in such situations. Maybe I was just fortunate. I don't know. But, and while I can't send my mind back to that of, Scribe when he was a kindergartner, I'm not really sure that anything about that book would have landed with me to begin with, or if it had, would have been at all useful for how I interacted with other kids. But again, maybe that's just me. Spud Gun, I like Thomas the Tank Engine books as a kid. Yeah. And you had like, well, there was a blue train and there was a green train. I mean, which one should I think of as better than the other one, right? No, they're just trains with faces, which is kind of creepy if you think about it. Don't think about it too long. Kiever Dam, Scribe Light kids probably would have looked up the list of female scientists on their smartphones. Yeah, I gotta remember. Several years ago, when I was dating a lady who had two little girls, and the 2-year-old was running around the house with her mom's smartphone, watching kids' Netflix cartoons, and just being mesmerized by the thing and operating it as, deftly as any adult would. And I'm just thinking to myself, times have changed. The toys have changed. You're right. Yeah, maybe they would look it up. Maybe all the kids in the proverbial classroom she's thinking of do have their smartphones out. This is me being an old fuddy-duddy, I guess. Lexi Mads, my favorite books were Don't Forget the Bacon, Kevin, and there was one about piglets who had turned pink because they ate too much ketchup. The ones I remember are Make Way for Ducklings, The Hungry Caterpillar. There was one, I don't remember the name of it. It was about a little bunny who had to go buy a birthday gift for his mother, and so he went and interacted with all his other animal friends and said, what should I get my mother? And that kind of thing. Gosh, what else? Yeah, there's and all the Polar Express type ones. I know that author did a whole bunch of different books like that. I always found those like, I don't know, whenever our teacher showed one of those books, I felt like I was looking at an episode of The Twilight Zone, because I knew what The Twilight Zone was as a kid. And the black and white imagery, the mystery behind each image, how much of a story could be told just by looking at it without having a whole bunch of words to tell you, kind of thing, showing, not telling. Those always really interested me. No Name, I grew up with Magic School Bus. Yeah. And did any of these things make you think badly or better of some people over others? Were you taught a lesson through a narrative and not just a lecture? What cartoons did you watch as a kid? What did you get out of those? I remember the Get Along Gang. This is how old I am. There was a show on like ABC or something. It's called the Get Along Gang, and all the characters were different animals. There were no races or anything. They're just different animals, like shirt tails or that kind of thing. And they had a clubhouse that was in a caboose, and I thought that was so cool. And they'd go down to this like malt shop or something called Mr. Huffnagel's, and they'd get like milkshakes and things, and they're just friends. Yeah, the Wuzzles. You want to talk about a show that taught like differences don't make you a bad person or something? The Wuzzles, for crying out loud. Bumble Bear, Rhinoki. You know, I had lots of things when I was growing up that sort of said, you know, it depends on who you are, not what you are. How many different ways, I'm thinking about it right now. How many different things did I have in my life that tried to promote togetherness and friendship and understanding and looking past differences to see the person that was there? How many times have we said sloth from the Goonies, right? I mean, what more dramatic example of looking past difference to see the person underneath do you need than sloth, right? I mean, when I was a kid, the first time sloth shows up on that movie, you ever watch Goonies? You ever think of it from like the perspective of an actual child? That was some horror movie stuff right there. Some chained up guy in a chair screaming and yelling at the TV and throwing things around, and Chunk is in the corner like crying. And then he turns out to be the superhero. It just seems to me that the people who are promoting this stuff today think that this is some new concept, like it's never been done before. Like all media of everything in the past was somehow regimented and portioned off in one big silo. It wasn't. Not for me, not for a lot of kids. But I guess that's just where we are, I suppose. Forgetting the past and thinking everything's been reset to the worst times and the worst parts of us. Anyway, I could go on, but I already have. And I'm coming up on an hour, and I think that's a pretty good place to lop it off for this one. So everyone, I'm going to wrap it up here. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. I know it's a Sunday morning. Hope you got something out of this, or maybe a cautionary tale otherwise. There are a lot of efforts right now of people trying to put together kids' books promoting some very iffy ideas. The most prominent right now, I think, is probably Anti-Racist Baby, or the kids' versions of such books. Kind of disturbing. But to each their own, as they say. Well, until it starts turning kids into little judgmental zombies, I guess, but time will tell. Everyone, again, thank you for joining me. Look for me again tomorrow night on this channel for Lords of the Night, my last hosting job for Lords of the Night. Hopefully it'll be a special and fun episode. Hope to see you there. But yes, and I'll have to take this out of my usual closure because it'll soon become not true. If you'd like to hear more from me or Satsu 2 Cents, you can find the two of us tomorrow night, Monday night, on my channel, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, for the penultimate episode of the Lords of the Night, where we'll talk about the news of the day, news stories you submit, what we've been up to on the internet, and your questions and comments, along with some reminiscings of times past. Everyone, hope you are all having a great rest of your Sunday. Hope you are all safe and well. If you're not well, please get well soon, and I will see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.